What has happened, everybody? James Hancock here. I just got out of seeing Bones and All starring Timothy Chalamet and Taylor Russell, and I'm very excited to share my thoughts with you because this is one of my favorite movies of the year. And you might be saying to yourself, wait a second, isn't this a movie about cannibals living on the margins of society? Yes, it is, but it is the best love story about cannibals that you will ever see. And I'm not going to give away anything that you can't see or can't gather from the trailer, but this is based on a novel by Camille DeAngelis, which I've not read. And the screenplay adaptation was by David Kajganik. I'm sure I'm butchering that, but I'm kicking myself because I had an opportunity to see this at a press screening at the New York Film Festival like 2 months ago. And I went to see Triangle of Sadness, and as I came out, I saw this giant mob scene of journalists and reporters waiting for the press screening of it. And I was like, what is this? Like, why is everybody so excited about that? And why am I not in that line? And I dropped the ball. I missed that movie, but I'm thrilled to have caught up now because, good God, like this is one of those rare movies that makes movies feel alive and transgressive and dangerous. And they so seldom do. And if you're a fan of movies by people like Michael Haneke or David Lynch, or pick anybody who's taken us to hell and back, but in a really beautiful way, then you're going to love Bones and All. And while it's tempting to call attention to the more visceral aspects of this movie as the feature attraction, that's not the best that this movie has to offer. It's one of the least pretentious, least self-important, least dogmatic, least preachy movies that I've seen in a long time. And we're just living through an era of self-important directors just annoying the shit out of people who just want pure raw cinema. But Luca Guadagnino, oh my God, he really nailed this. And he's not the first to explore this terrain. I mean, if you want to get an idea of what this movie's all about, check out the Claire Denis film Trouble Every Day from about 20 years ago. That explores similar terrain and is equally beautiful and disturbing. And I love art that's beautiful and disturbing all at once. I remember there's this scene in Blue Velvet where Laura Dern's describing having the most beautiful dream and the most horrible nightmare all at once. And those are always my favorite kinds of movies where for much of this movie, it's just a road trip through the American Midwest. And a lot of people are probably going to make comparisons to movies like Badlands or Bonnie and Clyde or True Romance, where you've got two lovers like on the run, but they're not really on the run in this. They just choose to travel, and they're going to certain places, and they have certain things that they want to do. And every once in a while, when the hunger strikes, shit goes down. And what I loved about this movie is how it gave us just enough information about their predicament or what drives the eaters as they're described in this. But it doesn't really like codify all the rules the way like a monster movie will about like how you kill a vampire and how they have to feed. All you need to know is that as they get older, they have to feed more often. And as they get older, they get better at smelling other eaters and identifying their own kind. And it's a very lonely life, as you can imagine. And so some of them are drawn to each other just out of desperation for human contact, but human contact that can understand them. Because as you see in the trailer, in the very first scene, there's this incredibly sweet, intimate scene where a couple of girls are having a sleepover, and two are lying under a table and they're cuddling. Oh my God, like they're so nice. Like they're getting along so well and they're telling each other secrets. And one's kind of moving in. And suddenly she starts eating the girl's hand. And I was just floored. Like I had kind of watched the trailer a while back, but hadn't really processed it. So I was completely caught off guard, but just how gnarly this movie gets, just like that. And one of the big weapons that director Luca Guadagnino has in his toolkit is actress Taylor Russell. And I'd never seen her in anything. And she's an experienced actress. I mean, she's got, I think, about 20 film credits, things like Lost in Space. But I'd never seen her. And in this, she's so effortless in her approach to acting. And it's so natural. There's no craft on display. Or at least if there is craft, it's invisible. And there's something about her performance that just is so natural and charming, and it just invites you in from the word go, even when you're watching her do something like chowing down on a human being. And that's a very tough tightrope to walk. And I guess what I found so refreshing about it is that just last week I saw The Fablemans, the new Steven Spielberg movie, where Michelle Williams went in the opposite direction, where she was acting so intensely and so vigorously that it just felt like you could see too much of the stagecraft, and it was off-putting. And this performance goes in the exact opposite direction, and I was just mesmerized, just hypnotized by her performance. And Timothée Chalamet, he's absolutely incredible in this, and he obviously has worked with Luca Guadagnino in the past. They worked on the film Call Me By Your Name together. And weird, strange connection, that movie also stars Armie Hammer, who obviously got canceled for all of his weird texts implying that he desired girls so feverishly that he wanted to eat them. And anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked talking about Armie Hammer, but there's a weird cannibalistic through line through this circle of friends and actors and collaborators. But Timothée Chalamet is rapidly accumulating one of the best resumes of any young actor in the biz. And what I really admire about his approach is that he'll go off and do a giant movie like Dune, where he gets to be the star of this huge franchise. And then he'll go off and do Bones and All, or he'll do The French Dispatch, or he'll do The King, and he was really good in The King. Or he'll do A Rainy Day in New York. I mean, whatever the case might be. But he balances small movies and giant movies. And I hope he'll continue to utilize that approach for the rest of his career, because it obviously raises the profile of the smaller, more art house kind of indie foreign films that he's involved with, but also gives him a chance to explore incredibly dangerous terrain that he'll never get to explore in a big budget Hollywood movie. And it's incredible to me just how much drawing power Timothée Chalamet has, because I saw this movie over at Union Square here in Manhattan, and I would guess that the theater was like 2/3 packed with young women who clearly want to jump his bones. And I love how, even if he's playing a cannibal, that's not off-putting to his female admirers at all. And the crowd was just insane. There's a bunch of people behind me that like brought like their animals in, and they were like talking up a storm. And at one point I was like, God damn, they're going to ruin the movie. But then I realized, you know what? Just embrace the hate, embrace the experience, embrace the fact that you're in a packed house of people who are fired up to see this weird fucking movie. So I just moved like a row or two forward, and anyway, they stopped bothering me, even if at one point the dog went completely batshit when somebody walked through their row. But getting back to the whole love story angle, I've never seen a movie do this before, where every embrace, every kiss is so pregnant with the possibility of danger. And I found it really intense and kind of terrifying to watch, because we see in the very first scene, which is the opening of the trailer, that really sweet, tender embrace between two young girls, which leads to, basically sucking the flesh off a finger like a goddamn like lollipop. And so every time these two young lovers in the movie kiss, you're like, wait a second, are they just gonna lose control and just like suddenly like rip their fucking lips away from the other person's face? And so I was kind of like on the edge of my seat, terrified about what I might see. But it's not just the Timothée Chalamet and Taylor Russell show. There's an incredible ensemble cast here in this movie. So I'm going to give a shout out to all of them. First and foremost, Mark Rylance. Mark Rylance, obviously, I mean, people love and adore this guy. I guess I really first discovered him or realized how good he was in Bridge of Spies. But for the last 7 or 8 years, this guy's been kept very busy. But he is delightful as Sully in this movie. As he likes to say, nothing's dully when you got Sully. And he's just a complete and total maniac, but he shows up early on to kind of explain the rules to Taylor Russell's character as she heads out on her own, because her father, played by Andre Holland, is another damn fine actor. He's used in a really interesting way where he takes off knowing that his daughter's never going to be able to change and that she's always going to be the way she is. But he leaves a cassette for her in order to explain like how she came to be, like what she is, what her background is, who her mother was. And so periodically throughout the movie, we get this incredible voiceover narration from Andre Holland, which really helps kind of just like tie the whole movie together. Another great performance is by Michael Stuhlbarg, who's yet another eater who shows up with David Gordon Green. And David Gordon Green, he's been doing everything in his power to make me hate him recently, directing all these stupid, idiotic Halloween movies. However, he and Michael Stuhlbarg, they kind of steal the scene when they show up, and they are the ones who kind of show just how dark and nasty things can get once you embrace the idea of eating people, bones and all. I mean, the movie's called Bones and All, and, well, I don't know if I should go too much deeper into the figure of speech, but there's a great significance to the expression bones and all when it comes to eating people. And it was cool seeing horror movie icon Jessica Harper show up. Jessica Harper obviously was the star of Suspiria, which then got remade by Luca Guadagnino. And I need to revisit Suspiria because I loved the remake when I saw it, even though I felt like it was like 2/3 of a brilliant movie and had a lot of dead weight on the bone. But it was horrific. And I love how Luca Guadagnino is not shy when it comes to gore, sex, and nudity. It's like, even if you're talking about like a Care Bears movie, you can't really give me too much sex, gore, and nudity. I like all the above. And he just goes all the way down on the throttle. But it was cool seeing Jessica Harper pop up again. And this, she's obviously becoming part of his very intimate stock company. And last but not least, Chloe Sevigny, who's been doing really cool, edgy, groundbreaking work for a quarter of a century at this point. I first discovered her through the films of Larry Clark and Harmony Korine, where right as I got to college, that's right when Kids came out. And then that was followed by like Gummo and Julian Donkey Boy. And so ever since then, I've just been amazed by how she's drawn to these kinds of projects. And I'm not going to elaborate anymore on her scene, but it's one of the most intense, horrific, just terrifying, just disturbing scenes of the entire film. But I should emphasize that this is not a horror movie in the sense that where it's not trying to provide thrills, even though I'm sure there are some people out there who will get off on the really horrific, grisly scenes. But like any really good movie, it's hard to categorize. You can't really like place it in like one slot and say, oh, it's this kind of story, because this is, like I said at the beginning, pure raw cinema. And we just don't get that very often, where we've got actors and a director who are exploring like a truly forbidden topic with poetry and grace and beauty. And my advice would just be to everybody, see this in the theater, see it with a packed house if you can, and just appreciate it, soak it up, just enjoy the moment, because we live in very risk-averse times where the people who finance movies and the people who make movies, they're constantly afraid about what's going to work. And that probably holds true for any era. It's very easy to get sentimental about a period like the early 70s or the early 90s, where it seemed like there was a disproportionate number of very edgy, transgressive filmmakers. But the reality is it's always tough. And I just love that Luca Guadagnino is willing to go to the dark side again and again and again. So I'm looking at Luca Guadagnino's filmography over on IMDb, and the good news is I have so much stuff that I still need to see. I saw I Am Love from 2009. I saw A Bigger Splash from 2015. Missed Call Me By Your Name, but I'm definitely going to go back and see that. And I saw Suspiria from 2018, and now I've seen, obviously, Bones and All. And yeah, he's kind of batting 1,000 in terms of all the movies by him that I've seen. So for anybody out there who's like a diehard Luca Guadagnino fanatic, let me know in the comments, what are the essentials that I have to see? Because he's been making short films since 1997. So the good news is I've got tons of stuff left to see. I'm very excited, but I may have missed some of his movies in the past. I will never miss a movie by Luca Guadagnino ever again. And in a strange, ironic, very humorous twist of fate, this movie's coming out just in time for Thanksgiving. And I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but I just sent a text to my family joking about how the perfect Thanksgiving movie has arrived, and I just included a link to the movie. I'm sure my family's going to think I'm a sick fuck, but that's the way I like to roll with my family. I like to keep them on their toes, but if you want to get weird for Thanksgiving and you're tired of watching like the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, check out Bones and All. But speaking of Thanksgiving, this holiday season, I'll be giving thanks to our friends over at Manscaped. Everyone loves turkey and stuffing, but you'll be looking like dessert with the help of Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming have blessed you with the ultimate Thanksgiving dinner topic. Tell your in-laws about your new cutting-edge ball trimmer and gift yourself or the man in your life the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Trim your pumpkins by going to manscaped.com and using the discount code WRONGREEL in all caps for free shipping and 20% off. Inside, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Reviver toner, that goes on first, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, that goes on next, and then last put on the Performance Boxer Briefs, which are the most comfortable boxers that I've ever worn. And of course, the kit comes with a travel bag to hold all your goodies. Think of it as a cornucopia for your balls. So if you like my channel or you like my podcast, Wrong Reel, please consider supporting my endeavors by making a purchase for this holiday season. But Eagerly looking forward to doing my top 10 movies of the year video in a few weeks' time. And I still have a lot of movies that I need to see, and I've missed a bunch. And I don't know if I'll get a chance to see everything I would like to see, but Bones and All is a strong contender for my favorite movie of the year. It'll be right up there in the top 2 or 3, trading body blows or biting people's necks and faces, competing for that top slot. I loved it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, hitting that notification bell. Hunt me down on Twitter at Geeking Out if you want to talk more, but can't thank you enough for watching. But more important as always, onwards and upwards.